Looking at the US dollar monthly time frame, we have a monthly supply zone in control, came in control 2 months ago on the US dollar index. We have seen a significant drop, and that is, in my opinion, why we have continued to see the dollar continue to fall, because we have that beautiful rally base drop area of supply that is currently in control. Where are we going to drop into? In my opinion, I don't think we're going to just tank all the way to this demand zone. I think we'll probably pause around this area of support at about the 102 area. I think we could hesitate there, but ultimately, I think we are going to this rally base, rally demand zone located at 98.34 on the monthly time frame. Not only that, we have this support, which is going to act as liquidity for us right before this monthly area of demand. So I think it's a great demand zone. I think that is our long-term target for US dollar shorts, especially since this monthly supply zone is in control now. So that's where I think we're headed. But again, I think we'll probably pause a little bit before we hit this demand zone, kind of create some more support here before we end up breaking it down to this demand zone. Let's get into the lower time frames, but first, here are some of the winning trades that we had from last week's daily market breakdown videos. If you guys want access to that, links are in the description down below to join the group. So with that monthly supply that is in control on the US dollar, on the weekly time frame here, you can see we are pushing into this weekly area of demand. You can look, we almost broke it. So it's really not looking too great. This was our target for shorts as we pushed up here. So it's nice to see that hit. But at the end of the day, this to me is not looking too great. I pretty much have no faith in this zone anymore. I will say, however, with the last 5 years of trading experience for me, I have seen it where we push deep into the zone like this and we do get a rally out. The only thing is, even if this happens, first of all, it's rare. And second of all, it usually ends up breaking anyways. And besides, I think it's really plausible now that we do push and target this liquidity, this support area right here. That's where I think we will be headed below that. And below all that support on the weekly time frame, we have two weekly areas of demand that are actually pretty decent in my opinion, that are inside of that monthly area demand. So that is where I think we could be headed on the weekly chart on the US dollar. So in my opinion, yes, we got to be a little bit cautious. If we do start to see a rally in the dollar the next week, we got to be a little cautious. Remember what's happening. We have a weekly demand that's in control. So we have to remember that. But honestly, I think we're going to be headed lower. Just watch out for a little bit of strength and monitor this little rally-based rally weekly buying area to see if it can hold or if it's going to break. And if it breaks, I think I'm right, and we're going to be headed down to below 100 on the US dollar. On to the forecast for the Euro US dollar on the weekly time frame here. It looked like we were pushing down to this weekly demand, and I'm surprised to see we pushed up. Honestly, it's looking really strong. This is a massive green weekly candle here. We do have a little bit of a a resistance liquidity above. I think we could easily, be targeting that. That's where I think we could be headed. On the daily chart, we did remove a significant, so not only do we remove a trend line, we removed supply and an overall range as well. And that was all pretty much removed by this demand at 1.043. If we do see a pullback all the way down to there, I'm not saying we're going to get that pullback, guys. I pretty much, at this point, I don't see any evidence we will get that pullback, but if we do, it's a very good area of demand that took out significant supply that we could see a move off of. So that is the demand zone I would have on my charts. In my opinion, we also have a uptrend now. No trend line here. This trend line is just kind of irrelevant. I'm not going to get into detail, but no trend, but there is trend. Sorry, no trend line, but there is trend to the upside, and it's just looking really strong. At this point, I don't really see any buying setups that I would feel comfortable pointing out to, because when we get such a massive move like this on a chart, it's almost impossible to find setups. And I don't force setups just to show you guys. I'm not one of those YouTubers that does that out there, or one of those traders. So I don't force setups. I don't tell you guys anything that's junk or anything that I don't believe in. That's why I don't feel comfortable pointing out that many good setups here, because the momentum is so strong. We're not really creating a lot of good zones. And if you guys are enjoying this video so far, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are new to the channel. I do these forecasts every single Saturday. So as far as Euro goes now, I would just continue to be looking for longs on 15-minute and 5-minute time frames. That's what I'd be looking at, unless we can start to get pullbacks, like I said, down to those demand zones on the daily chart, or even some of these on the 4-hour time frames as well on the Euro US dollar. All right, on to the forecast for gold. You guys know the overall trend to the upside is really, really strong. We did see a pretty red week here, but we've seen it before, right? We've seen red weeks here, red weeks here. Doesn't really matter. The trends are up. The trends are really looking strong. It's all looking good. Even on the daily time frame, it's just kind of a minor dip. However, on the 4-hour chart here, we do have this 4-hour supply that is pretty much holding up price. This supply, in my opinion, was the origin of the move that removed both of these zones. There could be some areas here that were supply, but whatever. This is the key one, in my opinion. You can see every time we even get close, we just wick out of it, right? So there's a lot of supply at the 29.30 area. And not only that, we have created some sort of resistance trap up here as well. So honestly, if we do see a continued push up, we break above this high, I think we will see a move off the supply. I'm not saying we're going to go all the way down to there because it's counter trend to predict that. So it's not really the best thing to predict. So I think that this supply will hold for a bit, but ultimately I think it will be removed, and it is the key zone that we need to see removed on gold. And if any demand zone is formed there, we could definitely look for a long trade, especially if it makes an all-time high as well. That's what we're going to be looking for on gold. So I'm going to be monitoring that 4-hour supply. And not only that, on the 1-hour chart, this is kind of just a blowed up version of the 4-hour area. So you can kind of see the same thing, the 1-hour supply inside the overall 4-hour supply, wick. But this is a very, very clear, range right here. So this is a range that I don't really want to be trading in. So if you are going to be day trading this one, you're day trading in a higher time frame range. It's really not high odds. So I would not really be trading until we can break out of that range. That's why I like these supply zones above, because it's above the range. We want to trade out of that range. We don't want to really trade in the range. That's my opinion. And then obviously with the trends being to the upside on the higher time frames, right? On the weekly and the daily time frames, the trends are up. So we would rather be trading with that trend. So that's why I will be waiting for supply to be removed and then new 4-hour and 1-hour demand zones to enter in the long on. Looking at the forecast for the USDJPY, you can see the last couple weeks we did remove this weekly area of demand, so that was very, very significant. That is definitely saying that we could push easily below 146 or 145, kind of target this rally-based rally here. That's where I think we could be headed next, and really even to this liquidity area here. So definitely a target we could see as we push down, and even on the daily time frame here, lots of momentum to the downside. Is it a trend? Sure. It's not my favorite trend. We also have this daily demand down below at the 143.95 area. That's, I think, our nearest term target. I think that's an area we will see a reaction off of. I'm not saying we're going to get a huge move off of it, but it could be an area we see a move off of in the future. So that is our target for shorts long term. On the 4-hour time frame here, we have a beautiful, pretty much, this is like my favorite looking trend line. It's just picture perfect, really clean looking. That is our 4-hour downward trend line. What that means is as long as this trend line is being respected, you could be looking for shorts on a 50-minute chart. That's what I'd be doing, and you could be looking for, you could really be holding as long as this trend line's holding, right? So let's say you get a short trade up here, boom, you push down, maybe your stop's at break even, trend line's holding, and then maybe it breaks down here. Okay, then you get out of your trade. That's how we trade along with a trend line. But it's important to understand where the higher time frame supply and demand zones are, like I've pointed out on the daily chart, to know where it's most likely you need to be more aggressive with your stop losses and such. On the 1-hour time frame on the USDN, we caught this basically picture perfect setup here. This was basically a 10 out of 10 setup. I loved it, and this was a supply zone trade that we called out in the daily market breakdown video for the Diamond members.
If you want to trade alongside myself and the community, join the Diamond membership for exclusive access to our daily market breakdown videos and catch trades like these. Plus, dive deep with our full-length forecast covering 26 plus markets, our interactive Sunday Zoom sessions, and personal homework to sharpen your strategy. And you'll also join our private Discord group for direct access to me and unlock a complete library of A to Z video lessons to master supply and demand trading. Don't miss out. Let's level up your trading. Links are in the description down below.
So we're going to do a little bit of a trade review here for you guys. What this was is we had a rally-based rally demand zone right here. We actually caught this trade as well in the daily market breakdown video. You can go back and watch that from last week's forecast. I think I pointed it out. And beautiful setup from that zone. So not only was it a demand that was removed, it was proven demand. Not only that, we also had a upward trend line that was removed. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 tight candle basings before a very aggressive, strong move down. Look at this red candle. That is what a good supply zone looks like. A nice move up and down. Beautiful move. And not only that, we stayed away for a while. So the pullback was a picture perfect, obvious trading setup. That was a beautiful trade. Now we have pushed in again up to the trend line. It is currently being respected. So that is a good sign to continue to look for shorts on a 5-minute time frame. If we get a pullback all the way up to the 150.97 area, we have another supply zone that is kind of the origin of this entire move, right? If you look here, we had the upper trend line like I was pointing out, but the upper trend line was removed by this supply, but this is like the origin of the start of the whole move. So it is a significant zone. It's not I actually prefer this one in this specific situation based off of the look of the zone, but it's still a good zone that we could see move off of if we do get a push up to that supply. But in the meantime, like I said, downward trend line is being respected. So it is day trading shorts all the way here on the USDJPY. Alrighty, on to the forecast for the GBPUSD, the British pound. You guys know the last couple weeks here, we broke out of this downward trend line. Not only that, we had a demand zone that was being respected, and we just removed this area of supply, which is honestly was a pretty good supply zone. I'm surprised to see it removed so easily. Nonetheless, it was removed. We have a demand zone down below now at 1.264. I think it's a decent area to look for some swing trades in, maybe even turn a day trade into a swing trade as well inside of that daily demand zone. But on the weekly time frame, guys, we are into this weekly supply now. I've had this weekly supply on my charts since last November, whenever it was formed. So it's a very significant weekly supply, in my opinion. Not only did it remove this area of demand, it removed a trend line. Just like that trade we just talked about on the USDJPY, it's a very similar type of zone. Nice tight basing, nice strong move. Honestly, I think we could see a move off this supply. I think we could maybe at least see a move even down to the 1.28 area, 1.275. That is where I will be looking to get a retracement. But how do we trade this, right? How do we trade the pound? And I just want to also point out, we have a weekly man down below, and it is certainly possible we get see a move from supply to demand. I've seen it happen thousands of times technically over my last 5 years trading. So how do we trade this right now on the pound? Well, the weekly supply is in control, so we want to look for shorts, and most likely the safest bet would be to look for shorts on our 4-hour time frame. So what we want to do is we want to be on this 4-hour time frame. I'm going to extend this trend line here. This is the proper way to draw a trend line, and we're basically waiting for some sort of shift in momentum here. I want to go back. Where was this supply? So if I just sync this supply in the layout, I will make it a different color for you guys so you can really see what we're working with here. So the black is the overall the overall weekly supply. So that supply is in control. As long as the supply is holding, we want to look for confirmation. So if we get something like this where we remove the trend line, any supplies on there is going to be a great type of confirmation. And then let's say you don't get an entry up here, that's fine. We push down, the supply is respected. We do have a demand zone down below 1.262. It actually could be good for a little high risk one-to-one trading setup or something like that. I think it's a good zone. But what I would be looking for with the higher time frame supply and control is to see if this zone can be removed. And then we could have a nice supply zone there that we could get a shorting trade off of. So that's what I'm going to be monitoring here on the British pound. It's a very, very good supply zone. I'm not saying it's 100% going to hold. I would never say that to you guys, but it is a good supply. In my opinion, we need to be patient here and wait for confirmation. And another thing we could be doing as well, this is the more aggressive. So typically, just to do a little lesson here, when you're, like I pointed out earlier, when you're trading, when you're looking at the 1 week as your higher time frame, your entry is usually going to be the H4 chart. Typically, that's the most conservative. And then another example, when you're trading, when your daily chart's your higher time frame, your entry is going to be the 1 hour chart. That's typically what we do. Now you can mix match. You can use your weekly as your higher time frame and look for H1 confirmation. So that's what we could be doing here. It's just more aggressive. So what we could be waiting for, the best situation would be to see if this supply can be removed. And if we have a demand zone here, that would be perfect, because then this is the demand zone we are going to be watching to see if it can be removed. And then if it does, we will be trading the supply that removes it. That is our confirmation entry model on the 1 hour chart. Again, I would prefer to see it on the 4 hour time frame because it's more conservative. But if you want to do it on the 1 hour time frame, you could definitely do it as well. It's just a little bit more aggressive, and there's nothing wrong with being aggressive. It's just different. All right, on to the forecast for the USDCAD, the country that I am from and currently living in. Let me know where you guys are from in the comments down below. So on the weekly time frame, we did see a little bit of a hiccup here, but honestly, it is looking strong. However, on the daily time frame, which we're going to go to now, things aren't looking too hot. We had a demand zone. It was respected multiple times. That was nice. We removed that. We created supply. That was removed. The demand was removed. So it's one of these times I've seen it happen so much where it's just like little mini price action like this. I'm sure you can maybe see like a range. We're waiting for that big breakout to the upside or the downside to create some sort of zone. So there's not a lot to go off of here on the daily time frame right now. on the USD-CAD. Even on the 4-hour chart, it's too whippy price action. But with that being said, on the 1-hour time frame here, we had a nice 1-hour downward trend line, a nice supply zone here. That supply zone was removed, and now we are clearly pushing up. I don't call this I don't call this trend. I call this momentum. The momentum is clearly up right now. Where I think we could be targeting for price to push up is this little base drop supply, kind of a little hidden one there at 1.446. Look at this zone. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. It's a great zone. I like the single candle type basing here. That's nice. But look at this move. It is incredible. Not only that, it took out a liquidity area and a demand zone. So in my opinion, it is a very strong supply zone. The issue is we don't have a higher time frame bias that is aligned with this, right? So this is a counter trend. The weekly chart is trending up. So this is a counter trend trading setup, guys. So it might be best to only look for like a 2-to-1 max, because we definitely could see it break. But that is where I think we are headed, up to that little 1-hour supply on the USDCAD, and that is really the only trading setup that I'm seeing at this time. On to the forecast for the Aussie US dollar on the weekly time frame. Remember, we have a weekly downtrend, so it is definitely preferred to be looking for shorts. However, we are clearly ranging here, and just fair warning, this is not a great pair to be trading at this point. We did catch a trade in the Aussie yen last week, but that's a cross pair. There's not a lot going on right now. Even on the daily chart, yes, we removed the trend line. It was looking good, right? But what we are waiting for now, we need to see this high removed, because then we'll have a nice daily trend, and that would indicate enough strength for me to really say, hey, we really need to hop on the longs. But we did remove the trend line. That is definitely a bullish sign. But again, we pulled back. We need to see that high removed. So in my opinion, I would definitely have some sort of trend line here or something like that, just to see when it does get removed. Because even on the 4-hour chart, look how sideways this is. We have nothing being respected here. Technically, okay, we do have a demand right here. I didn't notice until now. So there is a demand that's in control that removed this supply. I did not notice that. Could we continuously move off of it? Sure. But again, we're trading in a range. It's definitely not my favorite type of trading setup. And if there was a higher time for demand here, then sure, I would love this setup, but it's just not great. But at the end of the day, we do have a 4-hour demand zone that's in control. You could be day trading long as long as this trend line, as long as this demand is holding. And look, if we break this high here, that'll give us a 4-hour trend, and then we can really start to pile on the longs on like the 15-minute chart or even the 5-minute time frame as well, because then you would actually be trading with a trend. Right now, we don't have a trend. We are in a range. So I prefer to see the trends. However, with the demand in control, I think looking for longs right now, especially it's longs all the way, but it's day trading only, right? It's day trading all the way, but it's you can choose between longs and shorts. That's fine, but definitely monitor that 4-hour demand, and then also, like I said, monitor if we can get the trend lines. That would be very, very significant, and then you could not only add on to your trades, and then it's looking pretty good. So on the Aussie, watch the 4-hour demand, watch some of those highs on the 4-hour on the daily chart, and trade accordingly to that. On to the forecast for the USD Swiss on the weekly time frame. We almost broke that weekly supply. Failed. Now we are pushing back down to, and honestly, I don't know where we're going down to. I don't see any demand down here at all. Obviously, there has been buying down here, but I don't see a demand zone as far as how I see it. We easily could be headed down that low. And on the daily chart here, we do have a daily demand that was removed, and that daily demand was removed by this area of supply. A little bit of a big zone, but it is the one that I'm going to have on my charts. So there's two options here pretty much. I think we're either going to push down to this daily demand at 0.866, or we're going to push up to the supply first and then down to the daily demand. So it's hard to tell, what's going to happen. We can monitor the lower time frame trends. I'm just pointing out those are our medium to long-term targets on the daily time frame. On the 1-hour chart here, we have a beautiful 1-hour downward trend line. So really, we're going to be monitoring this trend line. And like I said, we're either going up to the daily supply first before going down, or we're going to go down. How do we predict what's going to happen? Well, obviously, if this downward trend line is being respected, we're going to just go down first. But if the trend line gets removed, that's a sign we're going to be going up to that daily supply first. So this is a downward trend line we need to monitor. And again, you could be day trading short a 5-minute time frame. And on the 4-hour chart, we have a nice 4-hour downward trend line as well. So on this 4-hour time frame, you definitely could be day trading short as long as this downward trend line is holding on a 50-minute chart. Now there is a little base drop 4-hour supply that's right before the daily supply, kind of right at it. So I think it's a great zone to look for shorts off of. Not only did it break some lows, it broke demand, nice tight base drop, nice basing. Nice move away. I think it's a great zone, but I'm not saying we're going to get up to there. There's no evidence we're going to get up to there just yet. So again, we need to monitor the downward trend lines and trade accordingly with profit margins down to the weekly demand and up to the weekly supply. So that's what I'd be watching here on the USDCHF. All right, on to the forecast for crude oil. Last but not least, we are into that weekly buying area again. Demand, it's just so tested. Look how many times it's been tested. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Honestly, I think we could see a reaction off of it again because we've seen it so many times. But with supply and demand, the idea is that this is actually becoming weaker every time it gets tested, but obviously not, right? So it's tricky. We have to be cautious of it, right? The issue with oil is that the trends are to the downside in the lower time frames. However, on the 1 hour chart, we did break 1 hour trend, and now we have a 1 hour trend to the upside. So that is definitely very significant. However, on the 4 hour chart, the downward trend line is still being respected. And we actually caught this beautiful base drop area of supply here. Caught that trade from the daily market breakdown video for the Diamond members as well. So beautiful setup there. Targeted the low there. You could got even more out of this trade as well. So with that being said, you could definitely still be day trading short as long as this downward trend line is being respected on crude oil. And I like the pullback up to the 4 hour supply at 69.67. And remember, guys, if you guys ever don't want to just take a trade with a trade stop above and take profit below, you could just look for extra day trading confirmation in these zones as well to confirm your entry and kind of tighten up your entry as well. But honestly, it is a tricky chart to trade right now because yes, we do have a weekly demand to control, but it's so tested. It's like, when is that demand going to break? That's why it's a little bit tricky. But look, if we do blast off to the upside, start to break some supply zones in the downward trend lines, then we might even be able to look for some sort of long trade as well. So it's all going to revolve around the downward trend lines on crude oil and that 4 hour supply at 69.67 on crude oil.
If you want to watch the full length forecast and get my daily chart analysis and daily market breakdown videos, join the Diamond membership. Links in the description down below.